The election isn't over, but the results are in. And I'm not talking about the US election. I'm talking about Russia's presidential election on March 17th. And although this is a bit speculative, right? But the Russian opposition groups are saying, hey, Putin is aiming for a 80%, right? They say he's got goals. He wants there to be 70 to 80% turnout in Russia so he can proclaim massive turnout, and he wants to win with 80% of the vote. Given that I'm not really sure who he's running against at this point, that's likely. However, ISW is looking at these things, and they like to study the Russian information campaigns, and they do a lot with that. And while not infallible, and they aren't necessarily always right on everything, I think they do have a good insight. And so their analysis is that the current polling done by the Russian government-owned polling organization, very different. Our polls are done by third parties, right? They're not even, most of the polls we get aren't even done by political parties. They're done by like Quinnipiac University. They do a lot of that. So point though is, in Russia, they have this polling organization. They are reporting very consistently 80% support for Putin. And maybe that exists, right? Given the informational constraints on Russia, maybe that's not that cooked. But they're saying, ISW gives a lot of credibility to this idea that, hey, look, he's got a target, right? He is targeting the results. And so talk about your rigged elections, right? The Russian trolls, come at me, bro. That's just the way, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. And although, again, we do, in all fairness, I'm an academic and I, have to consider all these things. It is very hard to say, right? I mean, is the polling cooked? Are the outcomes of the election rigged? Or is the political system rigged? I mean, if you kill the opposition, right? If you poison the opposition, then imprison the opposition, and then the guy mysteriously dies before he is maybe going to be exchanged, right? Also, anytime you have anyone, doing things, you label them as foreign agents. And, oh, by the way, you're conducting a war, so you under the guise of preventing criticism of the military, you shut down all independent media in your country so that only government-approved narratives are going out. What would we expect the results to be of either the election or the polling, right? I mean, maybe I'm unfairly questioning the good folks. Maybe these are guys, they come in, they earn their rubles each day, right? And maybe they are calling up people and they're getting answers from them, right? Of course, anyone you call in Russia and say, hey, we're doing this, it's a government polling agency, because that's all there are, and you're on the phone and I'm going to vote for Putin. So these are the things that make dictatorships, because that's what this is. So, benevolent, right? And that's why measuring democracy is a job, right? And Freedom House and a couple places do a good job of cutting through the bull ducky to do it. But that's what's going on in Russia. That's what we're going to see. So we'll see, right? But we're forewarned, right? We should expect, if Putin is able to do this right, he's going to get 70 to 80% turnout and an 80% vote. We only have till March 17th to wait for this.